use it is different.
We
Just
all
based
love
on
Grok.
based on the prompt that you give it and based on the circumstance, and so therefore it used to be retrieval based. Today it's generative. And if it's generative, then and every time is different, then you need AI factories all over the world to generate the content in real time, which is the reason why you need AI factories. And this is a unique way of doing computation, but the benefit, of course, is that everything isn't preconceived and pre-documented, and it's contextually sensible and therefore intelligent.
So AI factories and robotics, and we heard it yesterday from His Royal Highness, his vision, how to augment our workforce with roughly tens of millions of robotics to be able to infuse the next wave of productivity and progress. But this scares a lot of folks here.
Okay. Hey, Billy, let me know if you can hear me on the live.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, give me a sec.
Hey, guys, what's up? It's your boy, Talk Williams, host and creator of What? Hip Hop 50th. It is late. It is. It's 12 midnight where some of y'all at. It's not quite 12 midnight where some of y'all at. So I can't go wrong with the 12 midnight podcast. But no, it's not that at all. It's your boy, Talk Williams, host, co-founder of Hip Hop 50th. What is it? What we doing tonight? AI. AI is changing. It's affecting with an A. It's effecting with an E. Affecting what? Affecting what? How we learn, how we earn, how we teach, the career paths, how we take advantage or not of so-called upward mobility. How do we choose an academic or an educational path? How do we decide what the scholarship would really be? What are we saying to the youth at this point? What are you saying to your grandkids, your grandchild, your siblings, your kids that are in the 3rd and 4th grade, that are in the 5th and 6th grade? What are you saying to the high school student? Should they be pursuing blue-collar work? Should they be looking at becoming electricians, carpenters, painters, welders, different things like that? Or are we still pushing them to the edge, outside, outliers? Be a great doctor, become a wonderful surgeon, become the best lawyer, become the developer, create your own apps. What is it? Where are we actually going with that? Well, with all of that and any of that, you hear several versions of it depending on who you talk to. If you talk to the Mag 7, you know, not the Magnificent Seven, the old cowboy movie. If you're over 50, maybe if you're over 40, you've seen a modern day version of it where I think Denzel Washington even played some major role in it. But originally, it was the Yul Brenners. Yeah, it was that nice looking white guy that some people said was this and was that. Don't worry about that. The Magnificent Seven these days are the Amazons, the Nvidias, the Googles, the Meta, formerly known as Facebook, the X, formerly known as Twitter. And then I'm leaving, did I leave Google out? Did I leave, well, there's a couple of them I'm leaving out. But you guys can look it up. You know who I'm talking about. They're the Mag 7, the top 7 or 8 tech companies. And while you think your 401k has done wonderful this year, as they say it has, and you think your 403b has done wonderful this year, as they say it has, if you think your Roth and all of your personal investments have done great this year, as they say it has, don't be misled. It's not the entire stock market. The entire Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ, they don't all deserve or get equal credit for that. You can look at the NASDAQ. You can look at 10% or less of stocks that carry the entire market growth. That's right, and we know what they are. Hang on for a second while I check with my homeboy, Billy. Billy, can you hear me? Oh, wait a minute. Let me see what he says. Maybe not.
Yeah, man, sorry about that.
Oh, you can hear? Oh, I see in the chat now. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I forgot how sophisticated and technically inclined my homeboy Billy T is. He put it in the chat. I can hear you. That's wonderful. Hey, Billy, I'm going to jump, man. I'm going to do this live. I'm going to holler at you on the other side. But like I said, guys, where are we? Where are we going? Where are you at? What is the story being told? Now, I've played this clip before, and it has value, and I'll play it again. And the message here, this is Elon Musk and Jensen Huang. They're somewhere, maybe a week or two ago, they're at some U.S. Saudi Arabian investment conference. And there's things being discussed. AI, the Blackwell chips, the AGI, the agentic AI, all of that stuff. And the host, which I am glad he did, this was November the 19th, 2025. This is not as far back as I thought. This is less than 10 days. This is like technically 10 days ago. That's how recent this conference was. And he's asking the question. He's asking Elon Musk. He's asking the CEO and founder of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, about AI. The question that he's leading into now is how scary it is, how concerned parents are. What is it that we tell our kids? What's the direction? What's the trajectory? And it's almost like it's the yin and the yang sitting on the stage. When you look at Jensen Huang and you look at Elon Musk. Why? Jensen Huang, founder of NVIDIA, the NVIDIA chips, you know, the gaming chips, the CPUs, all of that stuff, the LLMs, the Blackwell chips, you know, the chips that the world just cannot do without, NVIDIA. He sounds not only politically correct, he sounds optimistic in his response. There'll be much more to do. People will be free to create. People will be in just wonderful spaces. Elon Musk addressed not only what's coming, but considerations that are real, that not only speak to the affluent, but speak to the poor, the undeserving poor at that. So let's listen to this question that's posed by the host when he asked, within all his greatness, what's really getting ready to
Yesterday from His Royal Highness, his vision, how to augment our workforce with roughly tens of millions of robotics to be able to infuse the next wave of productivity and progress. But this scares a lot of folks here when it comes to the future of jobs. So let's hear about your thoughts, Elon and Jensen, on that.
Sure. Well, if you say like in the long term, where will things end up? Long term, I don't know what long term is. Maybe it's 10, 20 years, something like that. For me, that's long term. My prediction is that work will be optional.
Optional.
Optional. So.
We'll take that.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be like playing sports or a video game or something like that. If you want to work, you know, in the same way, like you can go to the store and just buy some vegetables, or you could grow vegetables in your backyard. It's much harder to grow vegetables in your backyard, but some people still do it because they like growing vegetables. That will be what work is like, optional. Now, between now and then, there's actually a lot of work to get to that point. And I always recommend people read Ian Banks' culture books to get a sense for what a probable positive AI future is like. And interestingly, in those books, money doesn't exist. It's kind of interesting. And my guess is, if you go out long enough, assuming there's a continued improvement in AI and robotics, which seems likely, the money will stop being relevant at some point in the future. Now, there will still be constraints on power, like electricity and mass. The fundamental physics elements will still be constraints. But I think at some point, currency becomes irrelevant.
Jensen, any thoughts?
Now, let me jump in and say this to you guys. It's almost like listening to, and I'm going to use the term great. It's almost like listening to, and there's nothing great about it, but I'll just say this. When it comes to Elon Musk, he does not do a great job of sugarcoating baseline projections when he's asked about it when it comes to technology, when it comes to his products, when it comes to something that's going to affect our world as we know it. He just doesn't have a record of doing it. So when he says that money becomes irrelevant, work becomes optional. I know that sounds so radical. It just does. There's so much truth in there, though. Like, I'm going to jump in, and hopefully you guys will weigh in with your opinion and thoughts about that also. But there's a lot of truth, especially to the part that caught everybody by amazement, or some people are dismayed by it, that work will become optional. The reality of it is work is already optional. That's right. Work is already optional. For the young, the able-bodied, as well as the seniors, work is optional now in a lot of ways. So this great stake or moment of when he says this, that, this is some far off place and some far off distance. No, he gave you the numbers. 10, 15 years. 10, 15 years. That might mean 20 or 25, but yeah, work being optional. Now, listen to the optimistic, politically correct response from the person that's making the world dependent on his chips. The entire world is becoming dependent on NVIDIA chips. And that's the forked tongue of the NVIDIA person. You are creating and have created a dependency. You're playing God. And yet you're going to tell the people that you can one day become God too. No, it's simply not true. But let's just listen to Jensen Huang give his false version of new opportunities. Are you kidding me?
By the way, the NVIDIA earnings call is later today.
And by the way, since currency is relevant.
Cheers.
Elon just wants to share with you some breaking news. The two of us would like to share some breaking news. Let's see. I would say there's
whatever he's about to say. You're looking at a man whose company, like, in a lot of ways, has monopolized the chip market. Yeah. This guy is the closest thing to a deity or God-like status in the chip world. And he's not going to give the reality as we would experience it. He's going to give it on some flotation level that the angels, the chip angels surrounded him would experience, which is just BS.
Elon just wants to share with you some breaking news. The two of us would like to share some breaking news. Let's see. I would say there's different horizons you could look at. Everybody's jobs will be different. I think that's for sure. How the students learn will be different. How people do their work will be different, obviously, because a lot of the things that we do mundanely or arduously or very difficultly are going to be done very simply. And so we're going to be more productive from that sense. One of the things that I will say is that for most people or a company, if your life becomes more productive, and if the things that you're doing with great difficulty become simpler, it is very likely, because you have so many ideas, you'll have more time to go pursue things. It is my guess that Elon will be busier as a result of AI. I'm going to be busier as a result of AI. And the reason for that is because we have so many ideas we want to pursue, so many things that we still have in our backlog inside our company that we can go pursue. If we were more productive, we can get to those things faster. And so in the near term, I would say that there's every evidence that we will be more productive and yet still be busier because we have so many ideas. One thing that I will say, give you some evidence, is that,
But see, we ain't me and you. We is him and Elon. We is the likes of him and Elon. That we ain't me and everybody in this chat. That ain't the we he's talking about. Trust me. Of course they're going to be busier. We not going to be busy, though. Doing what? All of this was created so that we could be more busier? I don't think so.
with great difficulty becomes simpler, it is very likely, because you have so many ideas, you'll have more time to go pursue things. It is my guess that Elon will be busier as a result of AI. I'm going to be busier as a result of AI. And the reason for that is because we have so many ideas we want to pursue, so many things that we still have in our backlog inside our company that we can go pursue. If we were more productive, we can get to those things faster. And so in the near term, I would say that there's every evidence that we will be more productive and yet still be busier because we have so many ideas. One thing that I will say, give you some evidence, is that, and I was just telling Elon about this earlier, radiology, for example, has largely been converted to AI-driven radiology, and there's some really great companies doing that. And the surprising thing is the prediction that all radiologists would be the first jobs to go was exactly the opposite. The trend shows that there are more radiologists being hired now as a result of AI. And the reason for that, if you take a step back, it's because the goal of a radiologist is not to study the images. The goal of a radiologist is to diagnose a disease. Now the studying of the images became so productive, they could study more images, study more modalities, spend more time with the patients. And as a result, they're actually accepting more patients. We're doing more radiology all around the world. We're doing a better job with diagnosing disease. And so that's kind of the near-term outcome of AI and productivity. And we'll see what happens long-term. You know, when currency doesn't matter anymore, just, you know, let me know right before.
You'll see it coming. You'll see it coming.
We text often, so just
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, just text it out.
Well,
Yeah, let me know.
I kind
before.
of agree with both of you, because if you look at every technological trend, every general purpose technology has been net new positive for the globe, for humanity, and so forth. And let me share with you two case studies.
And Your Excellency, I think it's precisely the reason for that is because all the great ideas from innovators like Elon, that you have so many good
Indeed.
ideas that
And
AI,
Jensen as well.
Yeah, well, you know,
Indeed.
thank you.
So let me share with you two stories from two Saudi innovators in collaboration with a lot of the great work that NVIDIA does, that Grok does. One is Professor Omar Yagi. All right. Let me say that again. One is Professor Omar Yagi, who is...
I might need to move the mic.
All right.
Here, come on, we'll share this one.
All right. So now...
Get closer.
Let's try this one more time. So one of them is Professor Omar Yagi, who's the first American Saudi to win a Nobel Prize in creating new chemistry. And the way he has done that, he has leveraged your AI accelerators and models like Grok to be able to create new chemistry when it comes to metal organic frameworks. Those are metal ions that are positively charged with organic linkers to be able to effectively create a sponge with 0.33 nanometers pores to capture water from air and also to capture carbon dioxide. The second story has also to do with AI accelerated by NVIDIA and with models like Grok, which is Nanopalm, which is effectively creating a nanorobot 500 nanometers by 1,000 nanometers to be able to do gene editing, leveraging the CRISPR technology.
That is just wonderful. All of that is wonderful on that level. But the number of people that will be functioning, operating, going to school, and excelling in that particular profession, to even have access to that type of hardware, that type of intelligence, those types of sources, that network of a people is very few, is minute. Do not be misled by the few and the wonderful that will be the extreme outliers, participating, contributing, developing, making, creating at the levels that they're talking about. The Suffrage Act doesn't begin or end at that level. It begins and ends and is experienced at the level of bell curve. 68% of the population, in this particular case, 85% of the population, will not experience you will be free to do so many other things. No. You know, it's a strange thing in the country, in the United States. United States is one of them places where the way the society is set up, the way the economy is, you could have a house, be paying a mortgage, have 2 cars, a couple pets, a goddamn fish, a snake running around in your backyard, family phone plan, whether it's Samsung's or iPhone, 2 kids, 4 kids, 3 jobs, 4 jobs, 2 kids in college, and still be at the poverty level. It'll just be a digital winter. That's what it will be. And so when you think about your current situation, our current situation, where you work at, what you do, what your business is, your clients, different things like that, we almost fortunate right now. We're close to being fortunate because we still live in a time
Up front, Mark.
where a person can take advantage of what's available. Yeah, right there on the screen, you see a 7-year-ago Mark Zuckerberg, the founder and creator of Meta, formerly known as Facebook. He's about to get asked a question from a college graduate or soon-to-be college graduate, I think in Virginia somewhere, about a bachelor's of science degree. And like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg gives the answer. He definitely gives the answer. Now, he says it in a joking way, and he says it with his soft shoes around it, but in the middle of his ballet dance, it's clear what that answer is in terms of these college degrees, or at least a lot of them. All right, so let me get to that, and I will actually practice not saying nothing for about 3 minutes.
How you doing? My name is Tolly McMillan. I'm a sophomore political science student from the great Commonwealth of Virginia. Next governor. But my question to you, I want to thank you for coming here. My question for you, do you think a bachelor's degree with your experience with college and everything, do you think a bachelor's degree is a necessary key to attaining success?
Ooh, I am not your role model on this one. Yeah, absolutely. Stay in school. Look. I think it helps. I loved the time that I spent in college. I wish I could have gotten more time. I did not choose to leave. I just happened to build Facebook, and it kind of made me leave. But if I had the opportunity to learn for 2 more years in college, I mean, college is this magical time, right, where you get to explore different interests and focus on different things and meet great people. And that is not something that I would have wanted to have given up. And if I could have magically if I could have done Facebook in my senior year, I would have done that. Or after I left, I would have done that, and I wish I could have stayed in college. But, and of course, there's no doubt. I mean, there's a lot of research that shows that having a bachelor degree absolutely does help increase your job potential, your earnings potential, all that. So, yeah, I mean, look, I mean, it's kind of crazy for, I'm not necessarily the best spokesperson for this message, but like, unless there's a really, really good reason to leave college, you really should finish college. And even me, I'm going back to college to get. I'm going to get a degree this year. Harvard finally allowed me to come back, and I have to say, you know, I think that this is probably going to be the thing that my parents are most proud of me for. So look, yes, I'm not the right messenger, but stay in school.
For caution and concern on AI safety and the risks to humanity, the existential risks that were talked about, is that gone now, or parked, or downplayed? Is it full speed ahead, AGI and superintelligence?
Look, there is.
How do I get
an AI tutor in every kid's ear? Faced problems where.
Yeah, let me slide that back. I apologize for that. You heard Mark Zuckerberg, founder, creator of Facebook, or Meta, formerly known as Facebook. You heard what he said. He said that I'm not your role model for that. Just straight out. He you know, and then he gets into he addresses the value in terms of the social engineering, the engagement, the network working, the working with people, the experience as a what? As a young adult coming out of high school, preparing you for the world. You know, there's this song out for you old school, you gotta be classic old school hip hop. And it's not in the 80s, actually in the 90s, close to the 2000 or something. And this young artist at that time, Aaliyah, very nice looking black girl, sexy, yeah. And then there's DMX, you know. And there's this song, and at the beginning of the song, DMX says that tea would help. Now, he's not talking about hot tea. You know, back in the day, tea would be weed. Back in the day, tea would be reefer. That's real old school. Back in the day, tea would be marijuana if you got arrested and charged with that shit. But when he said that tea would help, that means, yeah, it'll help me rap, it'll help me get in the mood, it'll help whatever. You heard what Mark Zuckerberg said about these college degrees, these bachelor's degrees. He's not talking about all the bachelor's degrees. No, this whole AI thing about this push against college degrees, against work, against your current job and what you do and what are the kids going to do when they come out. It's not really about all and everything. It's not absolute. There's not a clean sweep. We're not wiping everything off the table. They're talking about the things, the tasks, the jobs, the assignments, the hiring, the processing, the things that are vulnerable that are going to be the target of artificial intelligence, of agentic AIs, of AGI, of that whole automation space. What are those things? What are those jobs? So to make it more tangible, empirical, readable, listable, to itemize it, they have this thing where they talk about a different type of economy. Probably the last 6 months was the first time I ever heard the term knowledge economy. I had never heard or paid attention or had the ears to remember hearing a term called knowledge economy. And when they talk about the knowledge economy, I was listening to Robert Smith. I think I have a clip of him. He's an investing billionaire at this point. They talk about the knowledge economy. They talk about knowledge workers. The knowledge economy are people who are doing work in fields where they're looked at, respected, or are rewarded or compensated based on their knowledge. Now, let's not get it confused. Let's not play semantics. All the crybabies, just pump your crybaby brakes, tighten up your fucking Pampers. We know that any and all jobs, whether it's blue collar, white collar, whatever it is, requires knowledge. But this reference, this semantical shift or use of the term knowledge workers, semantically, is talking about people, whether they're in healthcare, law, technology, legal, whatever these spaces and places and domains are, that typically use some type of system. They're driven through some process where it involves computer system servers, some type of electronic or digital apparatus or equipment or devices, learning about applications, where to click, when to click, and doing some considerable amount of analysis and reporting and a combination of the two as you perform your tasks. Okay? Remember, there's colloquialism and there's semantics. Okay? Colloquialism might be what it's called for that region, for that culture, how they reference something. Semantics is what is meant by it when it's called that. So the knowledge worker isn't taking knowledge away from bricklayers or plumbers or painters or electricians. They're just saying knowledge workers or the knowledge economy is that other group where at the end of the day and most of the day, they're using systems, processes, automations, devices, softwares, chips, and all of that stuff. It doesn't matter the domain. That's the area of vulnerability. That's the area that they're saying the AI is the target for. In the next 3 to 5 years, it's just going to be too obvious to everybody. Okay? That's what's going on. It's not, oh, we can just all go home and not go to school. No. The real question is, if I had a company and I was hiring entry-level developers, would I hire an entry-level developer who only comes with the skill set that the entry-level developer comes with today? Because I can get that, or at least 60 or 70% of an entry-level developer skill set, especially one that's not going to be facing any of my clients, making any calls and engaging directly with my constituents, or not doing any sales. If they're not doing face-to-face, whether it's on Zoom or in person, if they're not the person that's going to shake and bake and greet and make an impression upon another human being, and they're just going to be sitting in the back or sitting at Starbucks or sitting at home using their slender fingers to hit semicolons and colons and all of that other stuff, as an entry-level developer, I might as well hire less and invest that money into what? A coding assistant, something that can write the code for us, something that can build and enhance the library, customize it to our environment, for our clients, for the software we're developing or whatever we're doing, than to get this entry-level person. Because I'm going to get a bigger bang for my buck. I'm going to get more time, more whatever as time goes on. And I know a lot of people say, yeah, but you know, ChatGPT and Google's Gemini and Anthropic's Claude and Elon Musk XAI, they hallucinate, talk. They give you bad information sometimes. Okay, tell me who doesn't give you bad information sometimes. Point out the human beings, put it in the chat. This human never gives you bad information. All right, so what are you really saying? Because here's the reality of it. The bad information that we're getting from these chat bots or these agents, AGIs, you're looking at large language models that are the worst they're going to be today. Meaning, if you go back a year, that same large language model, that LLM, is better and smarter and more capable and more able today than it was 6 months ago. And 6 months from now, it's going to be more capable and able and doable than it is today. So for the next 4 years, which is 8 6-month periods, that growth, that trajectory of the increase of knowledge, response, analytics in those AIs, those LLMs, who can you hire that'll be able to be on that same trajectory every 6 months in terms of their knowledge base and growth and experience and different things like that? Now, will we always need a HITL. A human in the loop? Of course. It's not about eliminating every human being. It's about getting rid of, as Amazon people put it, the menial, the mundane, and the repetitive. So if what you do does not really involve a human being, and what you do is a bunch of menial tasks, whatever your domain is, and you do that on a computer system, mundane tasks, which they respect you and give you a title, some in-house training, but you ain't all that. And repetitive tasks, don't nobody see you doing it anyway. The people just experience the outcome. You're the target. You're the target. It don't matter if it's in law, in health, or whatever. If it doesn't require the human, we're the target. You're the target. But what about the colleges? Well, let's listen to this wonderful professor here, the author of Freakonomics, Steve Levitt, sitting there talking to Google's chief technology officer, what's his name? Ben Gomes or Gomez. He says, I'm guilty. I feel bad the way that we're teaching these university students things that don't even matter.
We didn't know what the answers were, and we didn't have the right tools. And what I do, and I assume you do, is say, well, I got to go learn those tools, and I was equipped to be able to learn those tools. So I think you're right. In a world in which you do not know what you'll be doing 5 years from now or 20 years from now, and a world in which so much knowledge is now at our fingertips, cramming your head full of facts and formulas is not the answer to managing the future. It's not even, it's self-evident that it's not the, but it's hard for the system to catch up, in part because the system is built on evaluation, right, of giving grades. And as an educator teaching at the University of Chicago, look, I'm the worst offender in the world. I need to somehow give some kids A's and some kids B's. And the easiest way to do that is to teach them things that don't matter in ways that are somewhat hard and overcomplicated so that I have a way to separate them out. And it's terrible, and I'm embarrassed about it, but it's what I do in my everyday life.
I think students would be lucky to have you as a professor because you're a very engaging storyteller, but also your ability to convey complex concepts. And one of the things I've been thinking about in the context of AI, right, is how do you help students get to those fundamental ideas in any of these disciplines through a process of interacting with AI, or AI providing other tools that do that. And, we've got this experiment called LearnLM, which is trying to solve the basic problems of tutoring, because, there's a lot of evidence that
A well-known and respected tech CEO, Dario Amodei, who heads a cutting-edge AI company called Anthropic, is raising alarms tonight about AI's potential impact on employment that could soon be felt. While he says AI can lead to incredible advancements like medical breakthroughs and boost the economy, he believes it could also lead to half of entry-level white-collar jobs disappearing and 10 to 20% unemployment in the next 1 to 5 years. It's something that's been talked about within tech circles for a while, but rarely so starkly and so publicly. I spoke to him just before air about that and other implications he thinks AI may have on society. Dario, you've said that AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20%. How soon might that happen?
Well, let's, well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. But just to back up a little bit, I've been building AI for over a decade. And I think maybe the most salient feature of the technology and what is driving all of this is how fast the technology is getting better. A couple of years ago, you could say that AI models were maybe as good as a smart high school student. I would say that now they're as good as a smart college student and sort of reaching past that. I really worry, particularly at the entry level, that the AI models are very much at the center of what an entry level human worker would do. And so it's hard to estimate, exactly what the impact would be. And there's always this question of adaptation. And these technology changes have happened before, but I think what is striking to me about this AI boom is that it's bigger and it's broader and it's moving faster than anything has before. And so compared to previous technology changes, I'm a little bit more worried about the labor impact simply because it's happening so fast that yes, people will adapt, but they may not adapt fast enough, and so there may be an adjustment period.
You are running an incredibly important company in AI, and you know this better than anybody, or as well as you know all the names we know, people, Sam Altman and others who are working, Elon Musk in AI. Why are you raising the alarm? Because it's not necessarily, I would think, in your best interest, because a lot of the messages we hear from, at least publicly, from, you know, some AI CEOs and stuff is a little bit more calming, like, you know, these agents are going to be great in your life, and yes, there may be problems, but, you know, writ large, this is a fantastic thing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think the reason I'm raising the alarm is that I think others haven't as much, and you know, I think someone needs to say it. You know, to be clear, and you know, I recognize it's always a difficult balance, right? I'm aware of my position that I'm building this technology while also expressing concerns about it, and you know, the reason I'm doing both of those things is, you know, one, I think the benefits are massive, and you know, we need to find a way to achieve the benefits and mitigate or prevent the harms. And, you know, the second thing I would say is, look, there are, as you mentioned, 6 or 7 companies in the U.S. building this technology, right? If we stop doing it tomorrow, the rest would continue. If all of us somehow stop doing it tomorrow, then China would just beat us. And I don't think China winning in this technology is, you know, I don't think that helps anyone or makes the situation any better.
I do want to read something that Sam Altman, your former boss at OpenAI, said in September. He was saying that AI can cause significant, in his words, significant change in labor markets, good and
Welcome back. Researchers at MIT.
So I'll just throw this in there real quick, okay, before I move on. That was Dario Amodei, and he's the CEO, co-founder, whatever, of Anthropic. And Anthropic, one of their products is Claude. Claude is very good at coding assistant. So if you need to just spin up some code and do some code vibing and all of that stuff, check out Claude, CLAUDE. I've used it, and I've watched some of their engineers as well as program managers do different stuff with it. Very impressive. Very impressive. 2 years from now, definitely 3 years from now, there's no way entry-level developers today would get hired by this company or similar, companies similar to that. It's no way. Because the entry-level developers today, I mean, they have to change the curriculum. Yesterday's entry-level developer, it can't be today's, definitely not tomorrow's entry-level developer. They're going to have to scrap currently. This whole thing where you're going to drag these young adults and kids out to teach them about classes and methods and libraries in 6 months, insane. Insane. They'll never get hired. For what? It'll seem like they know something, and it'll seem like they never know enough to do entry level. You need to put them on the fast track. They have to be put on the fast. They can put themselves on the fast track, but these soft, entitled, cuddled ass fucking kids and young adults, they'll never do it. The majority of them will never do it. It'll be some outliers, the go-getters. They're going to do it anyway. But the majority of these young adults and kids, they'll never do it. They're the same ones when they take a graphics arts class or graphics arts, some major that involves it. They'll wait semester by semester to learn what? How to crop and how to mask and how to stitch and how to add and how to, it's insane to me. The level of desire or wantedness that's going to be required for this knowledge economy, if you're pursuing that now, you gotta get active with it. You gotta go in more than the curriculum. The curriculum gonna have you standing around looking stupid with that degree. That's what's gonna happen with the current teaching at the entry level position for these knowledge working jobs in the next 3 years, gonna have you standing around looking crazy. Because nobody's gonna understand why it took you that long to learn that little bit of ass information. That's going to be reality of it. Oh, that's not right. Ain't nobody going to ask you if it's right. It's going to be is. It's going to be what is. That's what it's going to be. Now, MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, they have something called the Iceberg Index. Iceberg, ICEBERG. They've taken the NANDA registry. The NANDA registry is typically where you're going to find a large registry of MCP, model context protocols, API, but mainly agents created in the space. And they've taken what's called LPMs. I know, normally I say LLM, large language models, but they're taking LPMs, large population models. And they've taken large population models and combined it with the NANDA registry, and they are able to simulate what's going to happen in a particular city, in a particular state, in a particular zip code, depending on the jobs people have and the agents, the agentic AI that is built to perform certain tasks that will redefine that role, that job, that hiring, that pay. Let's check it out. Maybe she's talking about it. Let's see.
Just out with a new study about AI and productivity and just how many jobs could be at risk. Mackenzie Sagalis joins us with that story. Market pays attention to these MIT studies on AI.
Yeah, that last one on 95% of enterprise adoptions of AI not working out. Now MIT has built agent clones of 151 million working Americans, essentially software counterparts to real people, in order to identify which jobs are most at risk years before layoffs hit. Now, it's called the Iceberg Index, and it uses these agents to map more than 32,000 skills across 923 occupations in 3,000 counties, revealing exposure to AI displacement in every state, not just coastal cities. The report shows that while only 2% of AI-driven wage disruption is visible in tech hubs today, there's actually a hidden layer of exposure that is 5 times larger than what we see today, cutting across industries and geographies, hence why they call it the Iceberg Index. Now, findings indicate that AI can already take over tasks tied to nearly 12% of the U.S. labor market. That's about $1.2 trillion in wages, especially in careers tied to healthcare, finance, and professional services. For lawmakers preparing billion-dollar reskilling and training investments, the index offers a detailed map of where disruption is forming down to the zip code, and crucially, a way to run what-if scenarios before they commit real money and legislation. You've got states like Tennessee, Utah, and North Carolina, also co-authors on this new report, that are already using Iceberg to test everything from new training programs to skills-first hiring rules before they formally commit to policies and spending. Guys?
I'm amazed at this story, Mackenzie, and this money quote that you use, where they argue that we're basically creating a digital twin for the U.S. labor force.
But researchers do stress that this isn't a countdown clock to layoffs. It's more of an early warning map so that policymakers can move money and training around before the shock hits. And so the coolest component of this report is the fact that the Iceberg team has built an interactive simulation environment that allows states to actually experiment with different policy levers, from shifting workforce dollars and tweaking training programs to actually exploring how changes in tech adoption might actually affect local employment and GDP. Tennessee has been the furthest along with this. They've actually built their own AI and work dashboard that tracks occupational exposure and wage effects across the state, and that's helping currently to guide its policy and spending decisions.
All right, well, let's hope Elon Musk is right then, that we won't need money or jobs.
Because work is optional?
Yeah.
More and more tech layoffs are happening every day. Just today, Google's parent company, Alphabet.
What's going on with UPS is they are making progress and they're executing on their plan. And their plan really is to create a network that can not only handle but thrive in an ever-changing environment. And that change is being driven by e-commerce. It's being driven by the uncertainty around tariffs. And what they've been able to do is increase productivity through technology, whether it's automation or AI. And that also, they were stepping away from business from Amazon. They noted on their morning call that they're 3 quarters into a 6-quarter glide down of Amazon business, and the reason why they want to move away.
Welcome back. Artificial intelligence getting a lot of the blame for mounting white-collar layoffs. But for what's being dubbed the world's fastest-growing company, AI is the reason you'll be hired. Mercor is offering to pay industry experts an average of $85 an hour to train AI models to perform like humans. It's a business that's attracted big backers like Peter Thiel and Jack Dorsey. Joining me now is the co-founder and CEO of Mercor, Brendan Foudy. Brendan, great to have you. Thanks so much for being with us this weekend.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, Maria.
Well, big corporations are admitting AI is the reason for a lot of the layoffs that we've been seeing. So how do you respond to critics who say you're part of the problem, employing people to train their replacements?
Well, I think with every revolution in history, we've seen some job displacement that happens and automating away farmers and the Industrial Revolution and textile manufacturers. And same with the computer revolution, automating away people that were doing monotonous jobs in BPOs. But there's also all of these new job categories that are being created. And we're focused on exactly that, of how do we, scale up the amount of people that are able to teach AI in this enormous new job category that's growing quickly and now allowing us to pay out over $1.5 million a day to people all around the world, but especially in the US.
Yeah, but I mean, you're looking to do what? You want humans to train the models so that they could actually replace the humans?
Yeah, but maybe a good way of thinking about it is that when we automate 50% of a person's job, I believe we'll just allow them to do 2 times more. Maybe a good analogy is to the software revolution, where you could have said that once a software engineer writes code for a given task, you can run that code and they no longer need to write it again. But what ended up playing out was that there was an infinite amount of things to do. And so when we made people more productive and we allowed these higher and better uses of knowledge work, we were able to just do dramatically more. And I think the same will play out with AI. We'll do these incredible things of curing cancer and going to Mars because the productivity improvements will lift all boats.
And when do you expect we will realize these incredible efficiencies and developments that you're referring to? I mean, Jensen Huang was with me a few weeks ago, and he told me that he's expecting trillions of dollars to be going into the AI infrastructure build-out. How much money do you expect companies will continue to spend? And, when do you expect a return on investment?
Well, so I think, first of all, every indicator we're seeing is that all of the hyperscalers are getting even more aggressive with trying to invest in AI, because their largest fear in defending multi-trillion-dollar market caps is that they fall behind in AI and they're not able to effectively capitalize on that technology. So investing many billions of dollars or even tens and hundreds of billions of dollars makes a lot of sense for them in that context. The second thing is that we're seeing enormous ROI already in a variety of ways associated with improving the efficiency of their full-time employees as well as a lot of their customers.
We've been talking about AI replacing jobs, but what are the jobs that will be created as a result of AI in your view?
Well, so the new job category that we're creating is training models and agents how to automate a given job. We believe that in the future, instead of a customer support representative redundantly responding to 100 tickets, they're going to create an eval or a rubric to teach an AI agent, how to do that job or task, similar to the way that they would train one of their colleagues to do that job.
New this morning, AI startup Mercor announcing that it has raised $100 million in a Series B funding. The company now valued at $2 billion. It's up from just $250 million 4 months ago. Quite the jump. Joining us right now, first on CNBC, is Mercor's co-founder and CEO, Brendan Foudy. Good morning to you. Congratulations on the new valuation and the new funding round. For those that don't understand sort of how you're using AI in the context of employment, help the audience understand what's happening here.
Yeah, of course. And first of all, thanks so much for having us back on. Andrew, excited to discuss the new funding and update on the business. But at a high level, Mercor is training models that predict how well someone will perform on a job better than a human can. So similar to how a human would review a resume, conduct an interview, and decide who to hire, we automate all of those processes with LLMs. And it's so effective. It's used by all of the top AI labs to hire thousands of people that train the next generation of large language models.
And just to be clear, is it better for identifying specific types of jobs, specific kinds of roles, meaning for an engineer or for some kind of other role? Can it capture, how well an employee will do in a creative environment, for example, or at a senior management role? Would you use this technology?
Yeah, phenomenal question. It's really across the board, but what we excel at is analyzing things that are based in text. So for example, analyzing an interview transcript is much easier for us than analyzing what is someone's persuasiveness in a sales demo or a sales conversation. But that is broadly applicable to software engineers, doctors, lawyers, accountants, financial analysts, and really a huge portion of the knowledge work economy, all of which are domains that we're already actively hiring many hundreds of people in.
So how does it work in practice? Meaning you just talked about, for example, analyzing a transcript from a job interview. Are you also giving me, if I was interviewing a prospective employee, are you giving me a script that I'm following?
So we would ask dynamic questions of people based on their background, where similar to how a human would have context on your resume, we would ask questions about that, and they would respond, and we would ask follow-ups based on their responses, et cetera. One thing I will clarify based on the customers added on screen is that we can't confirm customer names, but we do work with all of the top AI labs and most of the largest technology companies in the world.
And your models based on open source other models, meaning are you sort of taking some piece of Llama, for example, or even DeepSeek now, and integrating that into your own model? How is it totally custom from the ground up? How did you do this?
Yeah, phenomenal question. So we post-train other models. It doesn't make sense for us to do things custom from the ground up, but most importantly, what we look at is the performance data of how people do on projects, where we're able to see who's doing well, who's not doing well, and understand all of the reasons behind that so that the model makes better predictions around who's going to perform well and for what reasons. In terms of which base model we use, it depends on the specific use case, but have had a lot of success customizing the OpenAI APIs as well as many others.
In terms of this new funding round, what are you going to be using this cash for? What happens next?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because the business has remained quite profitable. So we've grown an average of 51% month over month in revenue for the last 6 months, and are still profitable with a revenue run rate over $75 million. But the main motivation of raising the capital is to invest in two things. The first is the supply side of our marketplace in getting all of the smartest people in the world on the platform and continuing to support our customers that way. And then the second is our AI vetting technology and making better performance predictions so that we can have higher confidence in every individual that we're matching with our customers on projects.
Brendan, let me ask you a question that I imagine the venture capitalists who put money into this thing, or maybe those who don't, would ask, which is, what is the defensive moat around a business like this? I think to myself, LinkedIn should be doing this, which of course is owned by Microsoft and given their access to OpenAI and everything. How do you think about the competition in this space long term?
Yeah, so I think the two moats are tied to the two things that we're investing in. The first, in terms of supply side growth, getting all of the smartest people in the world on the platform, is reflective of the supply side marketplace moat. So similar to how you would see a marketplace moat in an Uber or an Airbnb, those are some of the strongest, most enduring network effects in the world that we're continuing to build out incredibly quickly. But the second moat, and the one that I'm arguably even more excited about, is the data flywheel. where we learn from every customer interaction about who's doing well for what reasons, about the features that indicate that, whether it's because someone has a certain experience on their resume or they, demonstrate extreme passion for that topic area in their interview, or even specific knowledge. And we're able to learn from all of those things to make better predictions for every future person we onboard, not just for that customer, but for all of our customers more generally.
I got one final crazy question for you.
Of course.
I know this apparently works for employers. Could you ever imagine higher education using this?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that how we decide...
do you think that kids, all of these, I'm just thinking of all of these admission programs all over the country at colleges, and whether this would change the whole thing. And then I don't know if I want that or not, because what about the kid who doesn't do well on the test, but does, brilliantly on something else?
Yeah, but I think the key thing is that the baseline is so bad, right? Like right now we have so much of this vibes-based assessment. We have a lack of data in driving the outcomes that we care about, that it just makes sense to, look at the things that drive the outcomes that we care about, whether it be, people having a well-rounded education environment or the outcomes of those students once they enter the workforce or whatever it is. And I think it's almost certain that in the imminent future, all of this will converge towards a completely automated process, not only because it's dramatically cheaper, but more importantly, because it's just far, far more effective than any process that a human could do.
I want to broaden this out a little bit and bring it to the discussion. The panel, Dub App founder and CEO Stephen Wong, along with the federal election correspondent Brianna Lyman. Brianna, you join me in these panels a lot. We'll put up a couple of charts. U.S. unemployment rates for 16 to 24-year-olds is 11%. For everyone else is 4%. Share of U.S. household equity is held by Americans 70 plus has doubled. So essentially, what I'm hearing from younger people your age, is saying, hey, Mike, what you're describing is the old America, the new America is like the greatest days are behind us.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in my generation, I'm Gen Z, do feel this way, and it's problematic politically, especially for Republicans. The reason Republicans got a trifecta last November is they ran on affordability. They said, we're going to make it different. One, right now, things don't feel marginally different. I can't really feel a massive, switcheroo between Biden and Trump. And two, we wonder why young people are flocking to Mamdani, AOC Sanders, the socialist types. And it's because those candidates speak about affordability more than Republicans and even some mainstream Democrats do. And that's appealing when people in my generation feel like they're working their behinds off and they're not really getting much to show for it.
Stephen, there was a chart out, ironically, from Vox, which is a sort of left-leaning thing, saying the median wealth of Americans under 35 is the highest on record. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not adjusted for inflation, but is there some excessive belly aching amongst young folks here?
I think you can see that in both ways, but I think ultimately what it comes down to is perception is reality. And like Brianna